Hey guys, welcome back to another trip report. Today, I'll be covering a rather special trip, as I'll actually be reviewing a new airline. Well, kind of new, Avelo Airlines. It was founded 2 years ago, in April of 2021, and maybe you've heard of it. And ever since I've learned about its inauguration in Hollywood Burbank, I've hoped to try them out, and I'm finally doing that. Let's do this. Hello, from Bob Hope Airport in Hollywood Burbank. I'm currently set to take a non-stop flight to the Yellowstone Airport in Bozeman, and like I said earlier, it'll be on the new ultra-low-cost carrier called Avelo Airlines, which started operations not long before Breeze Airways. It will be flight number 175. To be honest, given how small both the airports of Burbank and Bozeman are, I'm surprised that such a route even exists. But that's what I love about these new airlines like Avello and Breeze. They are known for connecting small and not well-known airports, which makes for interesting routes like the one I'll be taking. To give you an idea on what I mean, Avello has bases at not only Burbank, but also at New Haven, Raleigh-Durham, and even Wilmington. I don't know about you all, but I wasn't even aware that these airports existed until Avelo Airlines started flying to them. And sure, they have some major airport hubs such as Orlando, but for the most part they perform unusual routes. And I couldn't be happier about this. I'm glad that airlines like Avello are making it easier to fly into airports like these for a low price, and I hope they continue to do so. Emphasis on the low price part, as Avelo Airlines is, in fact, an ultra-low-cost carrier, and it'll be the first ultra-low-cost carrier I'll be reviewing on this channel. We've covered Southwest and Eurowings a few times, and well, they can get pretty cheap, but they're certainly not ultra-low-cost carriers. You'd expect Avelo Airlines to be in the same league as carriers like Allegiant, Frontier, or maybe Ryanair. You could say that they are about the cheapest you can get when flying domestic, but the downside to this is that when booking a flight with a ULCC, you can expect many extra fares. I'll talk about this later in the video. Anyways, I am looking forward to trying this new airline out. B3 is our gate for today, and as you can see it is a stand gate, which means you walk to the plane on a ramp outside. No jetway involved. I am a big fan of gates like these, and interestingly, every gate at this airport is like this. There isn't a single jetway here. So, I guess if you want to be, you could say, in the presence of the plane or among the plane while you're boarding, Burbank's the airport for you. And we got an okay view of our plane, which will be November 705 Victor Lima, a 19-year-old Boeing 737-700. Given the fact that Avelo Airlines itself is only 2 years old, this plane obviously didn't only fly for this airline. Before being transferred to Avello, 705 Victor Lima operated flights for not one, but 2 airlines, Aeromexico and Southwest. I've covered multiple Southwest flights in the past, 2 of them being on a 700 variant like this, so we may see some parallels. I'm still not expecting much, because like I said, this is an ultra-low-cost carrier. And this flight was actually pretty cheap, even with the extra fees involved, which I'll get into later. Somehow I ended up in boarding group 1, so without further ado, let's go to Bozeman. Welcome on board. Seat 32A is where I'll be for the next 2 hours. Obviously, I took the time to learn a bit about this plane online before I got on, but if you take one look at the seats, you won't need the internet to know that this is an ex-Southwest plane. It looks like Avello hasn't made any significant changes to the Southwest Airlines interior other than the seat pocket contents. It still has the Southwest seats. Avelo hasn't revealed any plans of updating them, but who knows, they might in the future. And just as expected, this 737 doesn't have the fresh look of the Sky interior. It has the older overhead bins and side panels. Come to think of it, I don't think there is a single 737 of the 700 variant that has the Sky interior. If there is one that exists, I'd be surprised. Actually, wait, remember what I said about Avello not changing anything in the interior? Scratch that, because I think they actually did some sort of rearranging with them, maybe adding more. Because their legroom feels quite a lot tighter than that of Southwest's on the same aircraft type. Or maybe I'm just seeing things, but this is certainly not 31 inches. But I shouldn't expect more on an ultra low-cost carrier, I guess. I got lucky with my seat pick, as I did end up with 2 windows. I'll be working with both today for wing shots. However, one of the window shades is a bit broken, and the windows are just covered in scratches. This aircraft never fails to show its age.
You may continue to use your small electronic devices in airplane mode with the cellular service turned off. Before you depart, please ensure that your seatbelt is...
through the highways till my shadow turns to sun rays, and on we'll go through the wastelands.
As stated earlier, the flight in itself was really cheap, $59 one way per person, which I guess would be $118 round trip. And that's the nice thing about ultra low cost carriers. Their tickets are often ultra low cost. But as some of you may know, when it comes to these types of tickets, the airfare price doesn't always stay that way. Depending on the length of your trip or what your plans are, you might need to pay extra fees, particularly baggage fees. and the baggage fees sometimes cost a similar amount as the ticket itself. Yeah. I did bring a carry-on which costed, I believe, $50 to $60. There were no checked bags on this trip, but they also cost quite a bit extra, which I can't blame them for when even Lufthansa charges for that. The seats toward the rear of the plane tend to be the cheapest. This window seat costed $12 or $13. Obviously, you can choose not to select a seat, and in that case, Avello would assign you one randomly, which could work for you. Like, even with the checked bag and seat selection, this ticket was still cheaper than most Southwest Airlines tickets I've come across, so I understand why this airline doesn't have the same standards as they do. My point here is that when booking with an ultra low-cost carrier like Avello, you gotta be aware of how much you're actually paying. Depending on how many people you are traveling with, what you want to bring on your trip, or what you expect on your flight, an ultra low-cost carrier might not be right for you. You should not expect anything above the bare minimum, as their single purpose tends to be to simply get you from point A to point B. I haven't flown with many ULCCs, but I've seen many reviews on other ones like Allegiant and Frontier, and that seems to be the general aspect. And if you know what you're getting into when booking a flight on one, you should be good.
Welcome to Bozeman, where the local time here is approximately 11:20 a.m. We'll be taxiing for the next few minutes. For your safety, please remain seated.
And we're here. Now it's time we answer this question. Is this new United States airline good? Well, speaking in terms of quality, it isn't great. Not horrible, but mediocre at best. There were certainly a few upsides, like the cabin crew. I could tell they kept a good attitude throughout the flight, even though they didn't come around with any sort of complimentary service. And their timing was more than perfect, as we arrived 20 minutes early. And looking at the history since the startup of this specific flight last June, there actually wasn't a single instance of this flight arriving late, except for the Ontario incident that happened a week earlier. So yeah, I can tell Avello doesn't have any significant problem arriving on time. But then of course there's the seats, which were not that comfortable. One thing is for sure, I would not be willing to sit in this plane for any more than 2 hours. And as I said, there was no complimentary drink or snack service, so I'm glad I brought a sandwich with me. And the aircraft interior certainly wasn't in the best condition. All this is going to bring my final score for Avelo Airlines to 5.5 out of 10. On the surface, this does not seem like a great score. However, this does not mean that I didn't enjoy my experience on this airline. Yeah, you heard me right. Despite everything I've said so far, I had a pretty good time on this flight. And that is because I followed the same advice that I gave you guys while at cruise. I boarded the plane not expecting anything more than what I got. I didn't expect the seats to be comfortable. I didn't expect any complimentary service. I just took the time to enjoy the flight experience in itself, knowing that this airline is getting me places for a cheaper price than most others. Of course, not all Avello tickets are as cheap as this one, but if your travel dates are flexible, deals like this shouldn't be hard to find. And if you find an Avello ticket that is still cheaper than others, even with the bag fees and stuff, and know what to expect on board, I would definitely recommend this airline, and I hope to see them continue to thrive in the aviation industry.
Thank you.